Welcome back. So the South African Post Office's financial woes are worsening. The struggling state-owned entity has again applied for the Unemployment Insurance Fund's temporary employer-employee relief scheme after a Treasury rejected a request for a nearly 4 billion rand bailout. A Communications Department spokesperson, Kwena Moloto, joins us now to discuss this. Kwena, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been challenge after challenge for the South African Post Office. I mean, I think if you can, perhaps in your own words, describe the situation as best as you could as to how the finances of the South African Post Office really are looking.
No, look, the South African Post Office still plays a fundamental role in the lives of so many South Africans, and so even though over the past decade there have been financial issues at the post office since Minister Solly Malatsi took over, he's been clear that we do need a workable solution to turn the post office around. As you know, the post office has been going under the business rescue process. There have been some gains made there in terms of the closing off of branches, certain public-private partnerships with, for example, Egypt Air, if I'm not mistaken, and so we're making inroads into trying to turn around the South African Post Office in that financial situation, but it is going to be a uphill battle for this administration.
Yeah, I think let's talk jobs then, because we already have seen retrenchments of 4,800 people. Could more be on the cards?
Look, I mean, I think that's the difficulty with business rescue. The minister has made it clear that as much as possible, we want to ensure that we can keep the workforce that we currently have. But one needs to look at the financial sustainability of the South African Post Office. There have been retrenchments that have been done so far. There's obviously a process that's ongoing to find a private partner to work with the South African Post Office. There's a lot of infrastructure, for example, that it still has that makes it an attractive investment. But it's only once we're able to find a private partner that we're able to put together a financial model that will be able to answer questions in regards to how many job losses there may be going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine the minister's perhaps response once you realize the Treasury had turned down that request of a 3.8 billion rand bailout. I mean, what was the response to that?
No, look, it's unfortunate, but we're also aware of the fact that the South African fiscus as a whole is struggling. And when it comes to our SOEs, we do need to look into private-public partnerships in order to make them sustainable. It can't be that it's an ongoing process of the South African people bailing out these entities. And I mean, we've seen it even inside this very department. That Telkom, for example, is an example of a private-public partnership that worked out for the people of South Africa, where they're getting bang for their buck in terms of investment. And so we can't continue with a cycle of perpetual bailouts for SOEs, and so it is the mission and the goal of this administration and for Minister Solly Malatsi to find a workable solution that will see the post office not being a crippled SOE that requires solely government bailouts, but a player that can go toe to toe with the bigger players inside the space.
But it is quite something when you consider the fact that the TERS fund that the South African Post Office has now turned its attention to was really, I mean, this was an effort of the COVID-19 pandemic to help businesses that were struggling to retain employees. Tough to make sense of a structure as important to the South African Post Office needing to go back to an organization or a system that was put in place during a pandemic, Kwena?
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think that perfectly describes the dire situation that the South African Post Office currently finds itself in. But as I said, from the minister's side and the department side, we are trying to focus on workable solutions in order to ensure that we can turn around this entity, because it still has a massive role to play inside the lives of so many South Africans, whether it be the distribution of SASSA grants and just general communication. It's such a critical SOE for really the most rural areas in South Africa, and we need to ensure that we get it up and running so that they're not forgotten.
Yeah, because I think that, and you talk about the, SASSA grants in the role of the South African Post Office there. And actually, my next question was going to be to you, the relevance of the South African Post Office. And if, we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, goodness, a few weeks ago, I heard someone talk about the fifth industrial revolution. And I'm talking essentially about how fast things are moving and that we perhaps have not evolved our systems fast enough.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that that the South African Post Office hasn't evolved fast enough, and it's why it's in the position that it's in. But it still is an asset that can offer great value to the people of South Africa and to a potential private partner. There are over 600 branches that are still across the country, and there's no other institution that has that same geographical reach, and that's one major selling point of the South African Post Office. But really, more than anything, it plays a critical role in ensuring that so many of our rural communities aren't left behind.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a goal of this department to really ensure that we break this digital divide. It's why, for example, last week or earlier this week, in fact, the minister announced the extension of the deadline for the analog switch off. And I think that yes, the post office may be in the past at the moment, but all of us still use the likes of Postnet, of Take-A-Lot to move around physical items, and the post office really does have a role to play there, if given the proper support and if really given a proper plan.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit here, Kwena, and talk about something else that's been a big contentious issue for your department, and that has been the matter of the SABC bill. Quite the tug of war there, where you've got, for instance, the Deputy President saying, writing to Parliament, effectively overruling your minister's attempt to withdraw the SABC bill. What's the latest where that is concerned?
It's our stance that the minister was well within his right to withdraw the SABC bill. The rules of Parliament, specifically Rule 344, allow for the minister to withdraw the bill if it hasn't been read for a second time in Parliament, which it hadn't been. And so we believe that the Speaker of Parliament must institute the process of withdrawing this bill. It would be extremely out of characteristic of Parliament to not allow for the minister to withdraw that, and it's something that we have stuck to. We have engaged, and the minister has engaged, the Deputy President has engaged inside Cabinet around this issue, and obviously the issues discussed at Cabinet need to stay there. But we are confident that we'll find a workable solution. However, it is our belief that the minister was well within his rights, and that it's been a practice that has happened for decades inside the National Assembly for a minister to withdraw a bill to the Speaker.
Yeah, just for the benefit of our viewers, Kwena, why it was important that the bill be withdrawn by the minister. course, he's talked about several flaws within that bill.
One of the key flaws is the actual funding model around the SABC. And we've seen it both inside government as well as from external players, a call to say that this bill is deeply flawed and doesn't truly address the funding issues that existed at the SABC. And the SABC plays an extremely important role inside the broadcasting space in South Africa, communicating to South Africans across the country, whether it be news, whether it be entertainment. And so it's important that we make the SABC work. If we don't, and the SABC were to collapse for any reason, which we won't allow, it would hamper the rights of many South Africans. And so the core reason why we've withdrawn this bill, firstly, is that the funding model currently doesn't address the actual issues at the SABC. But two, the bill puts a lot of power into the hands of the minister with the appointments of the SABC board, for example, and we also felt, and the minister felt that no one person should have all of that power, that it should be an appointment process, and so those are really the reasons why the bill has been withdrawn.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Kwena Moloto there, who is, of course, spokesperson for the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies.